like making videos that are authentic to myself. I don't like making edited videos or having background things because it feels like sometimes it takes away the importance of the words. It's a challenge to stay engaged in what I'm saying. For a long time, I've tried to make videos and try to make content that would get people to engage. But the truth is, I'm not fighting it anymore. I think if the words are important, that people will find them and listen to them. Like you want that. I think it's the struggle of trying to slow down to actually hear the words and process it. Like you want to engage with a child, but you have to actually sit there and kind of figure out the gibberish. Or you want the bachelor's or master's degree, but you have to go to class. This is kind of like that. You have to actually put in the work and be patient with not only the person that is speaking, but yourself. The content might be a little strange, the format, and sometimes it can become long winded, but as long as I'm authentic, I'm okay with that. The reason I made or am making the video is because I feel like there are a multitude of topics that I have a good collective knowledge about. Maybe not a perfect knowledge, but I think that everybody's voice is important. Everyone has art and specialty. You can always find information everywhere. I'm a philosopher. Now, I'm currently working on getting my bachelor's in philosophy. But I always think that school has a, a bit of a checkered past. I love the education. I love certification. But sometimes I'm not in love with systems. People believe big personalities, aesthetics, looks, even the sound of your voice. But sometimes they forget that systems have failures to it. They're not trying to be a one of those guys that dropped out of college and then made their own Fortune 500 company. No, I don't ever really want to be rich, or I want to be prominent if that is what I'm meant to be. But I never want to lose sight of myself. Not for clout, not for aims or images. I've actually, I could have been a clout chaser. I could have been prominent in many different ways if I had played the game like that. I realized I didn't want to play the game like that. I want to, again, be authentic to myself. I'm making this late, so I'm a little bit tired and my words aren't as fresh as I would like. But I also say when the words strike me, I should speak. When I think I have something to say, then I say it. And if it is to no one, then fine. I record it just in case anyone ever actually wants to listen to it. But if it's not important, you could just discard it. But let the words be said. That is the value of speaking. That is why I think everyone's voice is important. You never know what words will impact someone's life. Whether it just be a video with 50 views and they say something that touches you, that makes you just stay one day longer, or stay alive one day longer. God knows that there's so many tiny things, a song that's not really mainstream or popular, a video game, or even just a TV show, something that just brings you back to you. There's not really a fear that I blow up or I become famous and then I have to make or switch my content. I would do it more, but I would only do it as much as I love. And I know I always speak, or at least in this moment, I'm speaking of possible fame and saying that I don't want it, uh, but what I would do with it. But I think it's just nice to have dreams, goals, and ambitions, a future, a brighter future. I like to be cheesy, corny. I never really understood. No, I do understand. I understand why it can be bad. I think that being cheesy and not being authentic, that's bad to me. To me, I'm the definer. I'm the decider. I think that if you're gonna be whatever you are, you should truly believe. You should be happy and content. I feel like if you're angry and frustrated, are you really happy? And it's okay to say you're not happy. It's okay to say that right now you're not in a good place and you're wanting to do better, but you don't know how. As a philosopher, I say that's the very first step to ask the question. The action is the next crucial step. What are you doing? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? In fact, me doing this now is just showing a great step. I don't have anything to really, offer. I don't have the skills to keep you distracted. I don't have the editing. But I need to do what I have, the voice. And sometimes that's enough. When you genuinely want to do better, you will do better by simply doing better. Words are nice, but even though as a philosophy or as a philosopher and as a speaker, my words are important. More crucial is my actions. I put myself on the line as well. My words are very important to me. And it's not that I don't care if someone stumble across it and it blows up, but I want it to actually matter to people. I don't want people to make fun of it. I don't want people to harass or bully. But at the same time, I have to believe in my words and that people will find it. There's not a right person. Heck, even if the person did initially start out bullying me and harassing me, I think that's okay too. It's a part of growing up, a part of being human, being alive. You'll have to suffer the consequences. Everyone has to suffer the consequences. Maybe I stop making content, but maybe that person's life changes forever. And they end up being a good person that maybe they regret their actions, but now they can articulate better than anyone, maybe even better than me. Why it's not good to bully or harass. It just takes a little bit more time. It's not saying go out of your way and do it. If you know something is wrong, then I would suggest, you know, very likely, very highly suggest, um, do not do that. But I think that we live in a time where stupid and dumb get tossed around, where I believe that people are smarter than they lead on. They just want to be numb. They're scared. Simplicity is not bad. Simplicity does not remove something difficult. It's easy to play a video game, even a difficult video game. You press the right buttons in the right combination, you get good at it. Life can be hard in that way because it's it's very easy. Life is actually very easy, and that's the scary part. It's more difficult to play a video game, and the complexities can make it more worthwhile. But you're not affecting very directly someone else's life. At least that's what you think. But you're taking yourself out of a situation, a place. You're removing yourself from the world and looking at yourself as an object. And that's the sad part. Well, when I see myself engaging in the world and saying, well, how do I affect something? How would I live? I realize I speak about myself in like this negative or positive, like this, like again, an object. I forget that other people actually exist too. When I objectify myself, I objectify the world. And forget that there are people that genuinely would love to hear these things, that would try these things, that would give it a chance. There's some positive things that have happened to me. I got a girlfriend, and I talk about philosophy all day. I talk until the sun comes up and then the sun comes down. I talk to her every single day, and I love her. And I always was afraid that that I would not be a good partner, that I couldn't love anyone. I wasn't capable of loving anyone. I'm also again in college currently. I bought a house at a in my mid 20s, and I paid off my car, and I'm financially more stable than I've ever been in a long time in the last few years. That sounds great, right? It sounds like I'm at a peak point, and that I think that's true. But I also say that I don't forget the struggles that got me here. See, before I had found my girlfriend, right before that, I was trying to pursue this other girl. And no matter how much I paid and how many accomplishments I had, how many goals, we were both in college, and it just I would do anything. I wouldn't shout, I wouldn't yell, I wouldn't cuss her out, and she would hurt me over and over again, and I thought I deserved it. And you would say, "Oh, that sounds minuscule," but the pain was so deep because I was so lonely. Because before that, when buying the house, I was forced to move everything inside myself, physically doing all the labor to move in. I didn't have any resources. I I don't have my father in my life, and I didn't have any guidance. And my mother was not, well versed in owning a house. So I had to read up and learn all these things by myself as a young man, which again doesn't sound so bad. But if you look even further, I had literally just got out of the military, and it was a culture shock. I All my friends gone. I didn't have anyone to look up to. I know I did TAPS. If you know military, you did TAPS. Um, but I was drained. I was tired. I changed. I went half across the state back into my hometown where none of my friends really talked to me or never really went out their way to like come see me or engage with me. And that was really painful because before that, I was shot by someone I considered a friend, and that was painful. I got shot in my knee and femoral artery, and I almost bled out. And when I started to cry in my hotel room, because this was during COVID, I remember one day I was bawling my eyes out, and the person in charge of me, I know that they meant well, but they said I had to get over myself. I was in so much pain, putting on a mask for so many years. I had to get over myself. Those were the words that he had said. And I remember those words. And I remember the people that were supposed to be close to me. They kind of started to avoid me or not really talk to me. Like they would check up on me occasionally, but only when I made it the effort to come see them. And I didn't treat it like malice, and it's not malice. They were living their lives. And I re examined my own life and realized that we weren't as close because I probably would have done the same thing to them. So I didn't hold anything against because I know I always had went out of my way to engage and try to be a friend. No, I didn't try to be a friend. I tried to look friendly. But the truth inside, something that I think that every human could say. I I was putting on an act, and I think that they could tell. They couldn't put their finger on it, but and I couldn't. I would laugh, I would smile, I would joke, but I was depressed because I joined the military because I was trying to escape poverty. There was a baby on the way, not mine, but I had to take care of it. My father had up and abandoned us. I was working 3 jobs. I wasn't making a lot of money, and I didn't really have prospects in college. At least that's what I thought. And then when I go back down, I thought about school, and I said we moved so much, and my stepdad was abusive, and my mom was narcissistic, and at first it wasn't as big, but it turned. They weren't born bad people. It was just something that perpetually got worse. And in time, I couldn't tell what was good or bad, or they were my parents. They were the only people that I knew. And then I thought before I knew them, I also knew my grandfather, who had died when I was a sophomore in high school. And he had taught me everything on how to be a man, how to be courteous. When my mom wasn't there, when she had her cancer, and my stepdad was away and just decided to ignore me, and my dad just not there, and it was painful. So I had to escape. I had someone who believed in me and said all these things, and he didn't understand it, but he was there. I'm not gonna go back any further for right now, but I say all of those things were actions, and there's not a oh, this is negative, boo, yay, boo. They're perspectives. Everything had an action, a recourse, something. Now, you would say to the person who shot me, he was actually another military member. I never sent him to jail, and I don't hold any grudge to him shooting me. Not for him shooting me. It was negligence. The only thing that I ever was mad about was because he was supposed to be my friend. And I told him the dumbest thing that a person can do is tell a mother or father that you had killed their son or daughter being negligent with a firearm. Months, maybe, yeah, months before he had ever shot me. And for me to be the his punishment was fitting. It's kind of like a godly thing. No, not kind of. It was. I'm religious and also not a contradiction. But that's what we all are. Ambiguous, aren't we? Simone de Beauvoir. But it wasn't just that he had shot me. That was not the thing that had got me into anger. It was that I thought he was my friend and would listen to me, would see the seriousness in my eyes. But I realized that I was not a serious person then. I was timid, I was scared, I was battered and bruised. But I still was in control. I saw the writing on the wall, and I refused to acknowledge it, and refused to step back and put me first. To be selfish. To be selfish is not to be selfish. To look at yourself and to say that you are a person is not a bad thing. To look at yourself and to say that you matter is the most important thing that anyone can do. Because if you can't love yourself, you're not capable of loving anyone else. And all the pain that I had suffered, it wasn't, it's not to blame myself. It's not to sit there and say, oh, I deserved. It was saying that was the consequence of me not making that action and listening to myself. With the other military friends, some had made jokes and laughed and at my expense about me getting shot. It was my fault. And they didn't understand why I didn't send them to jail. They didn't understand why I said or did the things I did. And I realized that even if I explained it to them, they would just not listen. They couldn't understand me. And I realized then I wasn't in a place that I belonged. It wasn't that I couldn't fit in, but it didn't quite feel like home. It did and it didn't. And I realized that there was never a place that quite fit, that felt like home. But then there's also places that did. A contradiction. And I was filled with both the impending grief and overloading happiness. It doesn't end. Why is both happening at the same time? People don't know me, and yet they know of me, or they knew me, or they will know me. All felt like it just existed at once. And that's where I felt God really was. It was everything, every answer. It fit and it didn't, both. Because I don't have to, I don't go, okay, this is it. The military made me the person. That's it. Or college made me this person. That's who I am. I think that's why people become so disheveled, angry, and bitter, because they have defined themselves. And the biggest enemy of everything is boredom. When you say that you are perfect, you're saying that's it. When you're saying that you're king and that's your highest position that you'll ever make, that's it. And if you say king is the highest position, then king is the highest position, and you've limited yourself. For me as a philosopher, it is to see how far and how long I can go until I can't do it anymore, which is the hardest and scariest thing, and at the same time, the most amusing. I don't know what my works will bring me to. I don't know when the day will end. I don't know when my pain will become overbearing and my body will naturally make a sedative or, render me unconscious. And I'll never wake up. But I'm not afraid of those days. I feel like that is life. The balance. Why does your body naturally just take the pain away? Eventually you pass out. And even when you think, okay, that you're going to still stay awake, the slumber eventually hits. It doesn't matter if I was on fire for 15 minutes or if I was on the respirator for 3 hours. When death hits, that's it. It's timeless. And that's what I figured when I was there. I had 5 surgeries. I don't know if I died, lost too much blood. It could have been an illusion. But I like to think at those times that I was dead. Because I was. It felt like nirvana, peace. The cycle ended. I was floating in space, or what I thought was space. I think it was space. I'm gonna say it was space. It looked like space to me. And I knew that God was there. But I looked around space and it was empty. I didn't see a figure, I didn't see anything. But I knew God was there. And then it took me years later that I began to ask if I knew God was there, I know God was there. Why didn't I see God? God is not he or she, it's it to me. And why didn't I see God? And then a thought popped into my head. Well, if God was not there and I was there, was I God? And never have I thought that question before until that day. Do you do you count yourself? Do you think yourself? Now people would devise to get angry at that statement. They say I would assume that some would think it as narcissism, an ego on me. Oh, I believe myself to be God. Why would one think of himself as God? That sounds strange, right? But I think that a truth without malice or anger, without just acknowledging, would God just say that it's God? I think that the frustration is that, like a jealousy sometimes. Like, I actually seen God. No, you didn't. Because that puts into question what they had seen. That puts into question their position. If people believe me and believe my version, then they don't believe theirs. People, if people are not staring at them, and they or people are staring at me and they're not staring at them, then their power is gone. And that's a scary thing because that's in a way a death. And people are scared of death. I think it can be a scary thing. I think it's scary like a roller coaster though. Like the last bit of energy, the last hurrah. It's scary all the way up until it's almost done. And then there's like the tears and the laughter and the crying and even the hugging. But once you get everything out, that's it. Every bit of emotion, the end of the roller coaster. I think the reason I didn't die was because I had simply asked to live. I actually asked myself, what did I really want? And in that time when I was with my first surgery, I had prayed, I had asked, I truly desired to live with my leg. I didn't lie to myself and tell myself a a lie like if at first I did. At first I bargained. At first I really did. I said if I live, I will do this or that, or maybe I didn't. It's a little bit foggy, but maybe. But I really don't think I did. I didn't realize I didn't have time to really think of that. I just I just was scared and tired, but I was also making sure that I made everybody feel comfortable. In my last moments, I was shot, and I made sure to say hi and how are you to the staff, to the nurses, to the doctor. I remembered that it was Thanksgiving, and I apologized for even inconveniencing them or for bothering them on Thanksgiving. Strange, strange, right? But I don't think it is. Because I was being my authentic self, not realizing that's just who I am. And There was no point in yelling or screaming. It was just pain. In fact, at a point when everything was stable, I was more tired and wanted people to go home to their families. Because of that, secretly, I just wanted to kind of be alone. I wanted them to go see their families because I wanted to go see my family. But my family was never quite kind. When I saw them, I thought that maybe things would change, but it actually got worse. But if using it in kind of the way I look at it, it changed, which I always asked for. So it got better. I know I said again what seems like a contradiction. What you would think is the direct answer is like, hey, it got worse because there was more fighting, there was more frustrating. Um, People didn't come see me. My little sister didn't even give me a hug because she thought my leg was so disgusting. But then put it in her perspective. Maybe she was scared to hug me. Maybe she was scared she would bump my leg and she would kill me. It didn't change. I thought of that. I knew that's probably what she thought. But it still didn't stop the hurt that I just wanted to hug her. Two things existed. And the more painful truth was both of us were right. And it did not make it any less painful, but it made it the truth easier to deal with. My older sister, she ran away. She just wouldn't be in the same room. She would talk, she would laugh, she would bring me stuff, but she was using any sort of drugs or alcohol to ease and soothe herself. My mom, she was there. It seemed like the loving, caring, and doting, but she really made it about herself. She was my son, me, I. I remember I was reading anything that I could find, the Quran, the Bible. I had gotten the Quran and the Bible from a priest. I asked, and I wanted to read the Quran. Now, I'll be honest, and I say that this adds to the story. I wasn't really interested in reading the Quran. It wasn't like anything allured me to it. And I think that was, in a mystical way, I say that was God. Why did I want to read a book that I didn't actually want to read? And what happened played beautifully. My mother refused to hand me the Quran. She said, that is not of the Christian way to read the Quran. That is not what we're supposed to do. That would condemn you to hell. That is not I cannot do that as a Christian. But it was a priest that had given me both the Bible and the Quran, and he would have just given me the Quran if I had just asked for it, but I asked for both. She said, that is not the same denomination, but I said, isn't it similar enough? And like a priest that actually went to school and studied, and the very Bible that you allowed me to still have next to me was that same denomination, so I could read that, but not the Quran. You would say that's terrible, but it was good. I think that too long I was living in a facade. Getting shot was my only break that I ever had. I was working so hard and so long for so long that I never actually realized I didn't have a break. That I was so young and yet I was so tired. And it was okay for me to be tired. This was the first time anyone could actually say I deserved to rest, to be tired. When before I was just as equally tired, if not more. I was actually more tired before. But now I was less tired And I wanted to get up and do something because I actually had slept for long enough, but I was in pain. And the pain that kept me that kept me alive. That pain, that healing, it was so painful. It was so painful. I wanted to chop off my own leg, but I made a miraculous recovery. I have all my limbs. But I realized even then, that doesn't stop life from happening. I thought like once I got shot that would be the cure all to my problems. Everyone would cheer and speak to me and be my friend and be my girlfriend and be excited. That was that was the best thing that ever happened to me because everything started to crumble. The facade of relationships, people stopped showing up for me, even with what little that they did. I had delved into a depression, got hypersexual. I had started messing up in relationships. I started messing up in everything. I started letting um, things slip. I would become too eager sexually too quickly. Instead, I just wanted someone to be a friend, but I thought, okay, because before I was a very quiet and meek boy. I just really wanted to have a girlfriend because I can remember all the way back from when I was a kid, even up to the second grade, my friends got a girlfriend, and I said it would be nice to have a girlfriend. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's romantic. I always watched those Disney movies. Romance. It always intrigued me. My stepfather always thought I was gay. Yeah, he would talk about that in my. I still fell in love with romance, and I remember that feeling all the way up until I got my first kiss at 20, I think. At 21, I think it was 21. Yeah, and I had flings. I had sexual uh, run-ins after my first kiss. But I always messed up those relationships because I never actually learned how to be a good partner or what a relationship took. I was clamoring for the name but didn't understand what it meant. I wanted love. I was eager to do anything, but I realized, okay, I'm coming off weird or strange or I'm doing too much, but I don't know. I'm repressed. All the pain would flood to the surface, and I would begin to cry and weep, and they couldn't really see it, and I couldn't articulate it. But it wasn't ever their fault. I knew it. I knew that it wasn't their fault. But then I started to beat myself up, and that was my mistake. I was holding and beating myself for something that I wouldn't do for others. It wasn't my fault either. It really wasn't anyone's direct fault. And yet it was. Everyone was accountable for everything. If somebody had just asked a question deeper or had taken a little bit more time, they saw me disheveled and instead of holding out a hand, they had pulled back altogether completely. If my mother had taught me, if my father was there, if my stepfather had been different, had my grandfather not died because of cigarettes or anything else in his life, there's so many things that added to it, small things. I realized that there were small details. And the biggest problem was people did not care or love about themselves too much. Drinking and smoking, partying. I realized that I cared about myself so much. It brought me back to what he had said, what what my caretaker. You got to get over yourself. And I appreciated what he would even say. I don't take it as malice. I take it as advice. It was true. Everyone is saying something that's true in a way. I did. Maybe not at the time. That's not what I probably needed to hear, but eventually it was something that I needed to hear. Once you know yourself, you can get over yourself. And I did need to hear that eventually. I got a little earlier. That's the funny thing. Time is an illusion. Someone can give you great advice at the worst times. But then time is an illusion. So anytime I get great advice, I just take it. Sometimes I fall into this state where I don't do work for a long time. I have finals I need to do and I'm not doing it. I get overwhelmed. And I could do it. And I will. But I get so angry. Right now I'm having issues because I I'm very articulate with my words, I think. No, I will say I know. I will speak with more confidence. But I use ChatGPT or AI sometimes. I'll write a whole prompt, but I try to condense it so a professor could understand it. They're all my own words, but I just want to look better. I wasn't a traditional student. My professor, who I adore, I absolutely love her. But I think that sometimes she sees me and doesn't understand why I do the things I do. I think that sometimes she, as incredible as she is, she tries to read me too quickly. Sometimes she doesn't let me talk or workshop it out. And just sometimes I just want her to just listen and be there. Just to listen to me and help me workshop it out. It's painful. It's a big request, isn't it? Wouldn't you think? Hey, you're a person that's supposed to provide a service at a university. You have thousands and thousands of students, and one of your students comes up to you and says, "Notice me and give me a little bit more attention than the rest." I understand how it sounds, but I still want it. It doesn't make it easier. It doesn't denying the truth. Doesn't ignore denying it. Yeah, it won't help alleviate that pain or that want or desire. You're not going to suppress it and be like, "Oh, well, that's not logical." In fact, for me, emotions are the most logical things in the world. I think that's the only way that we can tell or even try. Being emotionless is akin to death. To be a psychopath or someone that's always on something that wants something or covets something like money. What? How much money do you want? How much money do you need to be happy or satisfied? And once you get that money, will you just cease to not exist? Will you die? No. But when they do, because it can be done, I kind of realize that they don't stop. In fact, they just get angrier. And the truth is that they're bored, and that's why they become violent. Because being bored is the most violent thing that anyone can do. Feeling claustrophobic, closed off. They have nothing in their heart to tell them to go anywhere, no direction. So you're gonna make direction. You're gonna make problems, and just to solve them, just because you're so bored. And I understand that because I was so bored so many years that I ended up ripping off my own toenails and fingernails because there were times where I was put on punishment or I was forced to stay in my room. And there, I won't say no. I don't agree with whatever reason, but it existed. It wasn't bad or good. It just was, and it caused other consequences down the line. But I would just become so bored that it would just be violent. And you would say picking your toes and ripping your toenails off doesn't sound as violent, but I say it's like cutting or ripping your hair out. Small things that seem like they're okay one time, two times. You're not really gonna notice it. But after a thousand, after your nails don't grow back correctly, after your hair has has notable bald spots, yeah, that's I would say that looks like a problem. I just I don't wish that people knew of me. That's not what I'm aiming for. I'm not trying to define. I'm trying to remain ambiguous. I'm trying to remain the to have the ability to be ambiguous, to be whatever I want at any time. That's why I want to maintain my health. That's why I want to eat good food and drink clean water and go outside and breathe clean air. So I can do as many things to experience as many things as I can as I want. And then when I don't have a desire to do it, when I truly don't, I can die in peace. I don't need to go to heaven because I already am here. I don't. I'm currently walking the stairway of heaven while being in heaven and also on earth. Heaven is a concept, an idea that I think what others think you will go on to the afterlife is something that they tell you, hey, your heaven is out there. You just have to wait. So give me all the things, and then you just wait. So you sit there and wait for heaven and imagine heaven. And to be honest with you, they didn't scam me because thinking about heaven is a cool idea. Thinking about the stars or thinking about a movie, anticipating, waiting, getting eager. That's, in fact, as they're counting their money and realizing that they're in a room counting a paper that says one on it or 100 10 times, 7 times sounds more ridiculous than thinking about, oh, how cool is heaven, the clouds, the skies, the swords, the dances, the music, the food. I'd much rather look up at the sky and think of heaven than ever think about counting the same piece of paper over and over again. For what? We could die at any time, so the amount of money. Yeah, it could prevent your death. That's the whole point, resources. But resources, they they just are there to help you continue to live, I think. And now I'm getting a bit tired, so I'll wrap it up. But the reason why I did it even this late and this botched is because I've kind of grown tired of the pretty. I've grown tired of everything being so formulated and so perfect. It's not bad to have something good and to, make a script or have a topic to talk about and have things to engage. But I think that it becomes super unordinary to try to contrive laughs, try to make everything a joke or everything super sad or over sexual. Like you always have to have a video or some brain stimulation, but sometimes just a lo-fi. A day where something's like you play a video and then you say, it's boring, but it still had some bits, some clips, and let me come back to it later. And you say, okay, I listened to 10 more of it. come back later, and then 20 more of it. And then one day, you might just listen to the whole thing and listen to it again. I think the reason I want to become prominent, um, even while doing this, is so I give people an incentive to still listen to it. If I put my name to it and say, like, I become famous like Morgan Freeman, people tend to have that celebrity crush and want to listen and indulge themselves in everything and every aspect. So I say, fine, if that's what I have to do to help, then I'll do it. But I'll do it only because I want to do it. And if I feel like I don't want to do it anymore, then I'll stop. I I don't set out to be a celebrity. I don't set out to be anything more than me. I will not set out to be a celebrity. I will be me, the person I am, the person that I'm becoming and will be. That will be the celebrity because you have made me famous. Nothing else. I thought that that's more important. I think that even having foundation, sometimes I have to tear up my own foundation and start brand new. I like to hold on, but I also like to let go. I love everybody, and I understand that I don't like every action. I don't agree with everything, and I don't take away the consequence that, yeah, some people might have to go and pass. But that is life. It doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean, I think that a lot of interpretation has always kind of gotten too easy, like written off. If you usually go the simple path, or not the simple, if you usually go the path that feels like it has less conflict, I don't believe that it's the path that you should go. I say the path that is most difficult is usually the path that you have to go. And difficult does not always mean in the same way. Sometimes the difficult path is just to say that you don't like something. Authentic difficult. It's just to say, hey, I don't like it. And then just accepting the consequence that that person won't be attracted to you or won't be your friend. They won't engage with you. That girl that before my girlfriend, she didn't engage with me no matter how authentic I was. And I said, no, I'm going to stick to me being authentic. And eventually, even though it hurt, we split. Like we weren't in a relationship, so I don't. But like she was like, no, we're not, and I accepted that. And even with the friendship, it dissolved. It didn't dissolve because there wasn't any friendship before. I wasn't I wasn't like that. I didn't have feelings for her in that way, and she didn't have feelings for me in that way. The problems that me and her had was I wanted to know. I thought I just no. Yeah. I'll say this. I thought I deserved to know her feelings. She had told me things that had upset me, and I wanted to and help and engage, but I had put myself deeper and said, okay, haven't I earned your respect? Haven't I seen I can say and do these things? I can interact with you. And she was cool with letting me hang out with her, but she had chosen when to be close and when not to. I had given her all the power as a show of I am not going to harm her, but forgetting to care about myself. You are not a stronger man. I wasn't a stronger man by giving her all the power because I thought that was a gentlemanly way to do that. No. That was me being negligent and foolish because I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't respect that I have to lift my weight and I have to use my power to lift my weight. And she has to use her power to lift her weight. To give her more, to just simply say, well, see, I'm such a giving creature, I'm such a giving creature. I eventually, I gave it all. And then how can I be mad? I gave it all. Well, yeah, thank you. Well, you said I could have it all. You said I could have all of it. If you give me all of it and you don't ask, if you say you ask nothing in return, then you deserve nothing in return. But that's where people, I think, hurt themselves. They want to they want to believe that they can be 100% and give it all, and then somehow the person's going to return it. Absolutes lead only into absolutes. When I realized that she wouldn't care for me the way, she wouldn't return that giving her all that power was not good, and it wouldn't. Yeah, she became close with me. I came a long way, but I went the wrong way, J. Cole. No. uh, she if I had respected myself, I would have never gotten as far as long as I did with that person. And that was probably the right thing to do, not to be involved. Sometimes the best things that can happen is nothing happening at all. Sometimes when you drive your car, you think that someone honking at you or someone almost hitting you is the worst thing, but there's the truth that you could have been in an accident or caused an accident, and you would have said, "I would rather have that day been boring than ever having this excitement." And I realized when I was with her that I wasn't happy. And when I got with my girlfriend, I had used that newfound love and appreciation for myself and that honesty and said I was hurt. I was hurt by her. I still had some lingering feelings about her, but I'm willing to move on. I won't lie about them, but I won't go back. It was the hardest thing I could ever do. Not the hardest thing I could ever do. Honestly, it wasn't. I was prepared to move on. It got easier every single day. There was times where I thought like, oh, this and this, because I genuinely had to let things and settle with them. But I had to be honest with myself. Did I really want them to be settled, or was I scared that this relationship was gonna hurt me? This new one, should I go back because this one? And it was like, but I knew that this person was the old girl would never treat me with respect. She didn't love me, and I didn't love her. So I had to be brave and say that yes, I'm going to be vulnerable again, truly vulnerable. And my girlfriend, we mesh so well. We find new things that we're like we are in agreement. And we're soul bonded. But I had to love myself in order to ever love her. That was the importance. With that being said, I'm done.